Hey guys, in this video we'll be continuing with the C# .NET tutorials. So we'll be going over label controls today. So we'll be continuing with the GUI design. So we'll be working with the design editor and the design window and the code, the actual code. So hopefully you guys can see the code. So I created a new project this time and called it just whatever you can call it. We're gonna make a language converter thing, language learning. It'll click a button with a label and it'll convert the language to something else. So we have, you can name it whatever you want. I just went with Windows Forms application or WinForm app. A WinForms app. I tried to use .NET 6 and I think there is an error because I have .NET 7 installed. I just went with that. So basically a label control displays text on a form. So you can think of, if you have a text box, which is a place where you can enter text, so that the GUI can save that, kind of like a scanf or input in Python, or basically just it's a function to take input, but it's for the GUI. So you can do that with a text box. We'll talk about that after this. So beside that, there's usually a message telling you what to put inside the text box. So that's called a label. So label is a control. It's a control in C#. So a label control displays text on a form. Label controls have various properties that affect the control's appearance. Label controls can be used to display unchanging text or program output. So when you want to display text on a form, you use a label control. So we will do an example in a bit, so we'll just talk about it a little bit more. So basically you can, once you place a label on a form, label control on a form, so this is so what's a form again, if you have forgotten. So we have, also I'm going to click the design tab here. So we just have our Solutions Explorer. I know the text is kind of small, so you might have to zoom in. I don't think I can make that any bigger. So properties, right now it's not clicked on anything, so if I click this, bounding box will come up. So now we have more properties. So we have our name and stuff. So we have the code here, which is form1.cs, then form1.cs design. So this is a area where you can see how your code is looking when you code. You don't have to look at it, but usually you probably do. You want to see what the code did. Did you do what you wanted to do before you continue on to the next thing, obviously? So you have, so we just basically, if we look at the code, actually sorry, if we look at the design tab, so if we look at our form, we have some properties here. So we're going to actually use a toolbox again. So it's loading, sorry about that. So we have, so we should find a label here. So we're going to show you what a label does, and after that, so basically again you just double click it. It'll appear here, you can drag it where you want, or you can code it to a special place. So we'll use a layout, probably a layout. We'll use basically a special layout to lay them out. We can make sure it's all symmetrical and it's at the right place, everything's in line. They have different layouts in C#, so we'll talk about that later on. So just for the series, so in this chapter we'll just kind of make couple small apps. We'll make a couple small forms, and then we'll get into data types and all that. So this part's going to be a little hard. We're going to go through all these things, and then we'll come back, get into them all specifically, get into the data types. Then it'll be easier, kind of like the other tutorials. Like the other languages, we'll go everything one step at a time before we come back to making more apps. So we will basically just continue on to the next thing. So we have, so as we said, you'll find the label control in the common controls group of the toolbox as I just showed. So you just double click it. You can click and drag the label control from the toolbox onto the form. So it'll have, again, so it'll have a default name, label 1, label 2, and so on. It just keeps adding 1 to the number every time you click it, unless you change it. So label control text property is initially set to the same value as the label control's name. So we talked about that already. So you can use the properties window to change its text property, so we know that. So we can just pick a label here, I guess. We can click the toolbox, find the label, double click it. So we got a label here. It's pretty small, so let's try to make it bigger. And double click it. No. Where's the bounding box? Okay, I don't think the click and drag's working very well with these because they're really tiny. Okay, so we have our event handler come up. So let's just leave it like that for a sec. We'll come back to that. Just trying to make this bigger. Not getting anything. Nope, no other tab is coming up. Okay, so let's go to the properties. Let's go to size. Can't see that text. Alright, let me just try to move my screen a bit closer. Let's go with size. Here we go, size. Can we go 100 by 100? Or maybe, let's try 100 by, yeah, let's go with, this probably be too big, but we'll go with something here. 200 by 200, does it not get any bigger than that? Nope, that's great. Maybe it's saying it's too big, it doesn't like that. Okay, so let's go try something else. Can you do 50 by 50? Nope. Is that a comma? Should be. Okay, let's go with, can you do 50? No? By 25? No, it's not letting me. Okay, so it looks like it's not letting me make it any bigger. So let's just continue on. So we'll find a way how to make it bigger after. So basically a label has been moved to the form. It moves to the top left corner at the top. So when you first click it, it's stuck in the corner like that. So like close to the exact corner. So we moved it down here. You may have to zoom in. So when you click on it, you should be able to change the text in the text property. Hold on for a sec. So let's let's change it. Properties, find its text. So let's go with C# is cool. Does that work? Hopefully it does. Okay, so the text was able to be changed. So C# is cool. Now it's our label. So we have that. So usually we'd have a text box here. So imagine you're filling out a form on a website to create an account, right? That's exactly what it's used for. You're creating an email account or something, or setting up a new bank account or something. For that, or some social media or something. So you have everything, whatever it'll be, all designed nicely. and then it'll be like label, label, label all the way down, and beside on the right you'll have a text box, text box, text box. What's your name? Text box, text box. Usually they have two different ones on the same line. Then it'll be like, okay, what's your birthday, your address? That's what it's used for. If you're like, what do you use a label for? That's what you use a label for. So that's what it is, if that makes sense. This is exactly how you do it in C#. It all starts out with this label and the text box. So you can we can change the name. We'll probably skip that for now. So the font property, you can change the appearance of the labels control set. Sorry, you can change the appearance of the labels controls text. The label controls text. You can change the controls font property. The font property allows you obviously to just change the font style and size of the controls text. Okay, so size looks like in Visual Studio is restricted with the way we tried to do it initially for whatever we did before. So let's go with this way. So to do that, we'll have to select the font property in the properties window. So we'll find the font property. So click it, get the bounding box up, click the properties window, we'll look for F. Should be here somewhere. Okay, so we got font. So now we're going to look for an ellipsis button. So 3 dots in a row, horizontally. Next to the properties value, so it should be, is that it in the corner there? I think it's all the way on the corner. Okay, so there you go, your standard word processing softwares, especially Office, because this is any Microsoft Word that you probably use. I know they cost money for it now, but back in the day you've seen this thing when you were in school, perhaps elementary, high school, college, university, whatever, same thing. You saw this obviously, Windows XP earlier on than that. ME or whatever. Some people probably watching the videos like I remember from '95. Like yeah, so that it looks the exact. It's almost the classic. They probably changed the colors around a little bit, made it more modern, but it's basically this same thing. So this is it. You've seen this before, obviously, as mentioned. This is the same thing. I guess it's funny that they use it to actually just change the properties as well in the code, so it's simple to use. Again, we could have just coded this, but we'll get into that after. So when you click the ellipsis button, the font dialog box appears. So we have then the font dialog box. So this is a font dialog box. So we can change different things, obviously. So we can change the font property. So font size and size. Looks like the docs I have are a little bit outdated because they're presented in some notes that I have, so we will just continue on. So there's more dots. Is there more dots here? No. Okay. There's supposed to be another ellipsis somewhere. I think they changed it since then. Actually, no, that's fine. We got that. Whoops, it's the same thing. Okay, so we have... so we can pick a font style, and a size. So we'll go with whatever, classic essay writing font. So then we'll go with, we'll just make it, maybe we'll make it bold, and then we'll make it as big, no, maybe like something like that. Hit OK. There we go. That's how you change the size. It's restricted by the actual size property. So to change the size of a label, you just change the size of the text through the font property. or I guess in this case font properties. I'm pretty sure that's what we just did. We clicked the, just going back for a sec, we clicked, what's, like I'm trying to check the exact term for it so I don't confuse anyone. So it's, yeah, it's the font property, that's what it's called. So find the font property in the design tab, or design window, click the 3 ellipses, hopefully you saw that. If you couldn't see it, just go back, rewind the video, and then zoom in to the right side of my screen. If you can't see it, it's like 3 dots on the very end, somewhere around here if you can see the mouse, very far right, in the properties window. Okay, so we got all that pretty easy. So let's just check how the code looks. Nothing, okay, no events yet. There should be something else, but we'll get into that later. We should be able to code that. We'll get into that later on. It's probably using another language like XML or CSS, so we'll get into that right now. Later on, right now we'll just focus on the event handler stuff for now. As far as code, we'll come back, so don't worry about the front end code. We'll do the back end stuff first. Okay, so we have the design. Okay, so that's our label. So now we'll move on to the border style property. So label controls have a border style property. So it has 1 and 3 values. The border style property has 1 of 3 values. None, fixed single, or fixed 3D. So it's set. So the border style property in Visual Studio, at least, or probably with most forms designers, is set to none by default, which means that no border will appear around the controls text. So if the border style property is set to fixed single, the controls text will be outlined with a thin border. If it's set to fixed 3D, the controls text will have a 3D appearance. We could look at that. We could probably look at that. Let's just see what other information we have here. So we have. Okay, so yeah, let's just do the example. That's pretty much it for the info. So we'll just click. We'll get the bounding box up. I'll click the label. Click properties. What did we call this again? Border style property. Okay, so we just find B. Border style. There's probably 3 ellipses on the side again. I'm gonna click. Whoops. No. Actually, there's no. Is there? So there's what's it called? There's a name for that. It's just like it's like a scroll button. There's an actual term for it in GUI design. I forgot what it's called, but we'll just click it. We'll talk about it later. So we have 3 different types. So we changed it to fixed single. Now we have this border around it. Click it again. We'll change that to fixed 3D. So now it looks like it's 3D, like in the actual form, like it's kind of like a stamped in or something. Sorry. So so the term that they have for that arrow thing is called just the down arrow button. I thought Java might have termed it a scroll bar. Same with Android. I'm not sure. I forgot the exact term. Sometimes you may see GUI languages with the same controls with like different terms. So we got that. Okay, so we have now the auto size property. So label controls have an auto size property that controls the way they can be resized. The auto size property is a Boolean property. So if you're not sure what a Boolean is, a Boolean variable basically only has 2 states or 2 possible values, true or false, or 0 or 1. I think 0 is false and 1 is true. Basically, you really need to know those numbers only for C. Most of the time, we'll be using the actual values, like actual, not C sharp, just C. I'm just gonna double check that just in case I got it wrong. It should be right. Just want to double check. You don't want to confuse anyone. So is 0 false in C? Yeah, so that's correct. So 0 is used to represent false, and 1 is used to represent true. So you may see that somewhere, perhaps, and we'll talk about it later. So you could, sometimes in other languages it takes 1 or 0, but usually you'll just use true or false. So in that case, true is 1, false is 0. So you can have like a variable boolean space is set points to. So when I say points to, I mean equals. So points to false. And later on, you can set it to true and use it like a switch. You can switch things on or off. So that's basically how you use it. You can think of like a light switch or something like that. Okay, so where were we? Okay, yeah, so we have true or false. By default, a label control's auto size property is set to true. This means that the control automatically resizes itself to accommodate the size of the text. So if I think if that was set to false and we tried to resize the text, it would have got all messy and the text would have been bigger than the box. I'm just guessing. Okay, so the reason why it was restricted when we tried to change the size property of the control, or in this case of the label, by clicking and dragging the bounding box. So if you want to mess with that, you can so basically you can switch the auto size property to false, and then you should be able to change the size property. So we'll just skip that. So basically you could have a bigger label that doesn't match a proper ratio of the text. So you could have a big text box with just a little label inside, but it's still a label. You could do that, perhaps, yeah, so that's what you can do if you, for some reason. If you wanted to do that. Alright, sorry, let me just have a sip of my water here. Alright, so let's move on to the text align property. So when you set a label's control, when you set a label control's auto size property to false, and then manually resize the control, it sometimes becomes necessary to change the way the label's text is aligned. By default, a label's text is aligned with the top and left edges of the label's bounding box. So if you want the text to be aligned differently within the label, for example, what if we wanted the text to be labeled, what if we wanted the text to be centered exactly in the center of the label? Or positioned to the far right. So if you guys have used Microsoft Word, you notice you can start typing on the right side, the middle, or the left side. Usually the left side is like the default, but in this case you could change that to center it. Same idea. So that's the text align property. So we can click our label, find the properties, find text align. So it's, as you can see right now, it's set to top left. So we can click the arrow. There's no values here. Where is that? Looks like there's a little bit of a glitch in Visual Studio, perhaps because I changed the theme while it already had been open. So there might be a color mix-up, but basically there's 3 different values or more. Is there more than that? Top, center, middle, center, bottom, center. Is there only 3? There should be more. There should be top left, top center, top right, middle left, middle center, middle right, bottom left, bottom center, or bottom right. So perhaps we just can't see them because of the color mix-up. So, or unless it's just a glitch in Visual Studio. So we'll just leave it at bottom center. Where is that? Okay, bottom center. We might have to change the text to just get like one word, so we can see the difference. So we can just click on text, C#. We'll just leave it at C#. We'll click on text align, change it to. Can't see the rest of them for some reason. Top left, okay. No, so not what we want. Let's go with typing something and see if it matches. Nope, can't do that either. Nope, okay. Bottom right. Let's go with bottom right. Hit enter. Okay, I think the text got. We'll have to. What was that property? Auto size. Do we say auto size? Okay, so we'll go with auto size here. Turn that to false. True, we'll change that to false. Hit enter. I didn't hit enter, but it changed automatically. Might have hit enter automatically, so then we'll just now change the size of the. Now we can change the size, so let's go with, should be able to, so we'll go with 100, 100. There we go. Okay, let's just make that like that. Okay, so we can do that. We can click the bounding box. So now it's at 287,95, I think. So in this case, now we have bottom right set. So that's what it is, like bottom right. With the text alignment set to bottom right, so we can change it to something else. Top center. There you go. So hopefully that makes sense. I apologize here, my computer turned off by accident, my notes. So we might just end it here, getting to half an hour. So we did it, we went over quite a few properties. In the next tutorial we'll be moving on to the next half, the rest of the half, and then we'll finish off with the actual Windows Form app example. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys liked the video, you can like and subscribe to the channel for more programming and investing tutorials, more languages, which I still have tons of videos to upload for the rest of the languages that are already there, and more coming out. So if you guys like it, check it out, and thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.